Hey, welcome. So today we're going to tackle an idea that kind of flips everything you've ever been told about your career on its head. We're going to dig into why being a jack of all trades and not a master of one could actually be the real secret to building wealth. All right, let's just jump right in with a question that, it might sting a little. Why is it that the A students, the ones who did everything right, so often end up working for the C students, the ones who just barely made it through? Seriously, think about it. The answer to that little puzzle is the key to everything we're talking about today.
And that right there, that's what we can call the A student paradox. It basically attacks this core belief that so many of us grew up with, this idea that you have to specialize to be successful.
I mean, from the time we're kids, right? The message is drilled into us. Pick a lane, become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Go deeper and deeper into one single thing, because that's what makes you valuable. But what if that advice is totally wrong? What if it's actually a trap? Okay, to really see the problem with this specialize at all costs thinking, let me tell you a story. It's a perfect example of why just being good at your craft is almost never enough. It's a story about what it really takes to become a best-selling author. So, the story goes like this. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy, meets this newspaper reporter, and she is a brilliant writer, just an amazing, powerful style. Her big dream? To become a best-selling author. So he tells her, you're just one skill away from making that happen. And his advice? Go take a sales course.
And how do you think she reacted? She was totally insulted, offended even. To her, sales was, it was beneath her. A grubby skill for greedy people. Her master's degree was supposed to be a shield, to protect her from ever having to do something like that. And just like that, the conversation was over.
But as she's walking away, Kiyosaki points to his own book on the shelf and hits her with the punchline. And this distinction is just so powerful. It's not about who has the best product. It's about who builds the best business to sell that product.
And boom, that story just nails the whole problem, doesn't it? The world is absolutely full of incredibly talented people just like her. They are masters of their craft, but they are stuck because they refuse to learn some other skill, sales, marketing, finance, because they think it's beneath them. They're literally just one skill away from a completely different life. So, this really brings us to the main event here, this fundamental clash in how we think about work. It's the battle between the specialist and the generalist. So let's really break it down. You've got the specialist. That's your A student. They go deep, learning more and more about less and less. The problem? They become super dependent on that one thing. Then you have the generalist, our C student. They learn a little bit about a lot of things. They might not be the world's best at any one thing, but they get how all the different parts work together. They create synergy.
Just think about any big company. It's packed with brilliant specialists, right? You've got your accountants, your engineers, your marketers. But who's at the very top, running the whole show? The CEO, the ultimate generalist. The CEO probably isn't the best engineer in the building, and they're definitely not the best marketer, but they know enough about all of it to lead the whole team and make the machine run.
Okay, so if being a generalist is the way to go, how in the world do you actually do that? Well, it takes a huge mental shift. You have to stop working for money and start working to learn. What I mean is, you have to completely change the question you ask when you look for a job. Instead of asking, what's the salary? You need to start asking, what am I going to learn here? You've got to start seeing every job, especially when you're starting out, as a kind of paid education. You're getting paid to learn a new crucial skill. Kiyosaki's own life is the perfect example. Get this, he quits a really high-paying job with Standard Oil to join the Marines. Why? Not because he wanted to be a pilot, but because he needed to learn leadership under pressure. After that, he takes a tough, commission-only sales job at Xerox. Now, he was apparently really shy, but he forced himself to do it so he could learn how to sell. See? Every single move was a calculated choice to add another skill to his toolkit, to his skill stack.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Job security meant everything to my educated dad. Learning meant everything to my rich dad. It's two completely different worlds. One path is all about chasing that short-term feeling of security, and you usually get trapped. The other path is about building real, long-term freedom by putting learning first always.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? What are the actual skills you should be trying to get? If your goal is to eventually build your own thing, your own business, there are a few skills that are just not optional.
They're the foundation of the whole thing. But before we list them out, let me ask you this classic question. Could you, personally, cook a better hamburger than McDonald's? I bet you could. So why are they a multi-billion-dollar empire and you're not? It has basically nothing to do with how good the hamburger is.
The answer is one word: systems. McDonald's isn't really in the hamburger business. They're in the business of systems. Real estate systems, marketing systems, supply chain systems, franchising systems. The burger is just the thing that flows through this unbelievable, well-oiled machine.
And that machine, that whole system, it's really built on 4 main pillars. First, you've got to know how to manage cash flow. That's the lifeblood of any business. Second, you have to manage systems themselves, the processes. Third is managing people, which is just another word for leadership. And finally, the big one that wraps it all together, sales and marketing. Those are the essential skills of a successful generalist.
And this brings us right back to why most people never learn this stuff. They get stuck in a JOB. And you might have heard this acronym before, just over broke. It's that place where you work just hard enough so you don't get fired, and your boss pays you just enough so you don't quit. It feels safe, but it's really a long-term trap.
All right, so let's wrap this all up. What's the takeaway? First, talent is not enough. You have to know how to sell it. The goal is to be the generalist who hires the specialists, because you understand the whole system. And you get there by picking jobs for what you'll learn, not just what they pay. And what do you learn? Cash flow, systems, people, and sales. That's the stack.
So I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Take a second and be really honest with yourself. Look at your own career. What is that one skill? You know the one I'm talking about. The one you've been avoiding? Maybe it's public speaking. Maybe it's sales. Maybe it's just understanding a balance sheet. What is that one skill that, if you actually mastered it, could change everything for you?